1st of May, and what is that?
May Day.
May Day! May Day! So it took no imagination to realize that the perfect thing to talk about on May Day was solidarity. So I reached out to a union sister of mine, a close personal friend, an organizer I've worked with for back when we were babies, back when she was a baby, I was grown. Helene O'Brien, who is the president of Service Employees International Union, Local 21 LA. They represent largely public sector workers in Baton Rouge and New Orleans, including city units in both of those cities. They also represent some small number of, or not small, but private workers, Aramark, Sodexo, you know, some food service and other people, but they're very familiar with the whole service employee movement, and they have been an important factor in this city for quite a while. Helene, previously to that, for a long time, was field director of the national community organization ACORN, and worked in New York and Phoenix and New Orleans, and this is how she ended up here and with the service employees. So I have implored her to come and speak to the spirit of May Day, and the way we work these things is she'll give some remarks and then we throw it open for questions and answers, and we're glad to have everybody. Helene, delighted to have you here.
Thank you, Wade. Well, hello. As Wade said, my name is Helene O'Brien, and I'm the president of SEIU Local 21 LA. We represent public service workers, mostly in the metro areas of New Orleans and Baton Rouge. City workers, school employees in both places, and as well as in Jefferson Parish. SEIU's Local 21 chapter started a few months before Katrina, an auspicious time to get started. And it started with the members from Local 100. And Local 100 is still around organizing, and Mr. Wade Rathke, the illustrious Wade Rathke, did actually organize many of those units. And we have taken it over and really tried to build a force for justice that not just focus at work, but also focus on the community and builds power for workers and their communities. I think what I'd like to do is just talk a little bit about what what we've learned over the past few years and kind of where we think we're going. So one is, now is a tough, it's never probably an easy time to be a union, to build a labor union for low-income workers. And up until probably last September, it was really a shitty time. Organizing workers when, I think probably it all crystallized for me when I had to go to a meeting up at the Capitol in Baton Rouge, and in the meeting I had a group of food service workers here in the schools, and to really look at their jobs and to understand that what happened to them since Katrina. It's really to understand the plight of not just workers in New Orleans, but really probably all over the country and probably most of the world. Pre-Katrina, the cafeteria lady, the lady with the hairnet who made your food, had 10 paid sick days. She was underpaid, but she had a full-time job, 35, 40 hours a week, and she had some benefits. And if she got sick, she could stay home, or if her kid got sick, she could stay home and not get deduction in pay. And what's happened then post-Katrina, as everybody knows, every worker was fired, and Sodexo was brought in. And Sodexo is a multinational corporation, very profitable, headquartered in France. And we complained a lot about Sodexo, but now I speak of them almost fondly, I have to just say, because Sodexo is probably the best, and it's been downhill since then. So Sodexo basically got the contracts for all the custodial workers and all the food service workers in the school system. And those cafeteria ladies went from 10 paid sick days to 0 paid sick days for 5 years. For 5 years in Katrina, if the lady who was cooking your child's food was sick, she either stayed home and got the pay cut, or she cooked for the children sick. So it wasn't good public policy. It's not like her extra $50 a day or $60 a day was going to break anyone's bank, especially post-Katrina with all the money coming into town. And that's really it took us 5 years to win paid sick days for those workers. But we did finally win paid sick days. We won. One last year, 2 this year, and we graduate to 4 next year, and we're going to continue to fight that. So we're very excited. But then Sodexo lost the contract. Just when we're getting Sodexo where we wanted them to be, RSD decides to fire Sodexo. And they bring in Aramark. And Aramark said, we'll take all the workers and all the schools at the same rate, so there's not going to be any change except for the company on their paycheck. Okay. I always want to make these minor changes in the contract. I'm like, okay. Now, it wasn't just me, Megan. This was lawyers and our national lawyers. Like, yeah, okay, let's agree to these minor changes. What the minor changes basically did was they made 65% of the cafeteria ladies' jobs part-time. So now, all those ladies not working 7 hours a day, they're working 4 hours a day, and in 4 schools here in New Orleans, they work split shift. So they come in at 8, punch in at 9, stand around for 1 hour, punch back in at 10, and then punch out again at 1. And that's only in 4 schools, and we've stopped them at that, and we're trying to get them to change it, but they're still pushing to do it in more schools. And now we hear that Aramark is going to lose the school contract. There's a very good chance they're going to lose at least some of the schools because the students have organized and not liked the food. It's here for the students.
Yeah, solidarity.
Solidarity, absolutely. So the problem is now there's a bid process, but who they're probably going to bring in is Revolution Foods, who I mean, it's an open bid process, but there's a lot of conversation that it would probably be Revolution Foods. They're out of the Bay Area, California, and there's a lot of talk, and it's all premature, that they're going to have kind of a production kitchen and have food shuttled out. And so what that means is all the other workers lose their jobs. And they might even partner with Liberty Kitchen, that's what we heard, so it'll be, so it's really, it sounds great. It's like all these, Revolution Foods and all these progressive institutions, but the workers will all be unemployed. And new people will come in. So there's a big push now that we're doing to try to at least shore up the floor. So that was one of our experiences. Another experience we had was is now with the custodians, where Sodexo lost the contract and Aramark now has the contract for all the school custodians. So you go to any school in town practically, and there'll be now an Aramark custodian. And what Sodexo did was kept cutting down the number of workers it needed to clean the building. And now they're basically Sodexo lost the contract and brought Aramark in. And so what's happening now is that Aramark is basically cut the staff by 20%, same amount of square footage, and today they fired 13 workers and didn't give a reason. Yes, we have a contract, and yes, we will fight, but it's an example of this constant race to the bottom that low-wage workers are experiencing. We see it at the city in Baton Rouge, where we also represent the workers, where there used to be 50 custodians who cleaned buildings. Now there's 16. And one guy retires, it'll be 15. And now who cleans the school buildings in Baton Rouge and the public buildings, the city buildings, the courts, the libraries? Workers from Bolivia. They're flown in, they're part of Janicare, they work for Janicare. Janicare, from what we're hearing from the community, we door knock, they own a trailer park. And they put the guest workers in, they have guest workers and they live 8 to 10 in a trailer park. And those are the workers who clean ExxonMobil, I guess Exxon, in a trailer. Yeah, bumps. Mm-hmm. So that's but that's who cleans ExxonMobil. At least, again, from when we're meeting with the workers and some of the local agencies. And so what we're finding is we've got 2 challenges. One is how to organize and win good things for workers. How do you win more money? How do you win improvements? And that's mostly public sector workers. But really, at the end of the day, we're experiencing this profound attack on the very nature of the idea of a full-time permanent job.